Back in the summer of 2010, I fell from a third-story window onto the concrete below, and I'm not sure what happened, but I suspect I got up to go to the bathroom that night, and as a blind person, I used to run my arm along the wall to find my way. That night, my hand found an open space where the closed window should have been, and I cartwheeled out. My friends who found me thought I was dead. The doctors in intensive care suspected I was going to die, and when I realized what had happened, I wondered whether dying might have been the best outcome. I fractured my skull, I had 3 bleeds on my brain, suspected torn aorta, and a spine broken in 2 places with no feeling or movement from my waist down. All of that added to the blindness that had happened 12 years before. I'm sure you can appreciate I didn't choose any of it. I didn't choose the accident, the injuries, the consequences. None of it was my choice. But by way of making sense of it, I've come to acknowledge that sometimes we have the luxury of choosing our challenges. And sometimes challenges choose us. What we decide to do about them, what we decide to do next, that's what counts. And I want to focus on the choice between being a soloist or a collaborator for the purposes of this session. Not long after I got back from a 43-day expedition race in the coldest, most remote, most challenging place on Earth in Antarctica, I found myself lying on the concrete below that window. And subsequently, I found myself in hospital for 16 months, and I discovered that spinal cord injury strikes at the very heart of what it means to be human. It turned me from my upright running, jumping, cross-country skiing form into a seated compromise of myself. And it's not just the lack of feeling and movement, it also interferes with the body's internal systems that are designed to keep us alive. And these are the things that exhaust even the most determined and well-supported of the 60 million people around the world who suffer from some kind of paralysis. What I found strange was that up to this point in history, it's proven to be impossible to find a cure. Yet history is filled with accounts of the impossible made possible through human endeavor, the kind of human endeavor that took those polar explorers to the South Pole at the start of the last century, the kind of human endeavor that will take a new wave of explorers to Mars in the early part of this century. So I started asking myself, well, why can't that same human endeavor cure paralysis in our lifetime? Based on some of the people that we have been meeting, building relationships and working with, I believe that human endeavor will cure paralysis in our lifetime. In particular, I started working with a group of scientists and engineers in San Francisco at a company called Exobionics, who were building robotic exoskeletons to allow people like me to stand and move. And I also started to work with a visionary scientist at UCLA called Reggie Edgerton, who was using electrical stimulation of the spinal cord to allow for voluntary movement. I spent some time with him and started to do some experiments. And one of the early results is in this video.
Go, 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 go. Good, good,
oh, yeah. Go on, Mark, go on. Go. Wow.
The interesting thing was we found no shortage of world-class competitors, soloists, but little evidence of collaboration. UCLA scientists knew about the Exobionics engineers and vice versa, but as so often happens when people are doing groundbreaking work, they were so focused on their own research that they hadn't had time to look sideways, to get together yet. That seemed to be our job. That seemed to be where we could contribute. And so in 2014, we created our first major collaboration with those 2 technologies. And for 3 months in 2014, I moved to the lab at UCLA, and the scientists put electrodes onto the skin of my lower back every morning to promote that voluntary movement. And for the first time since I was paralyzed, I could feel my legs beneath me, not like I used to. With the stimulator turned on, upright in my robot, I could feel my legs beneath me. I could feel the meat of the muscles around the bones of my legs. And as I walked, I could voluntarily move my legs. As I did more, the robot did less. My fiance, Simon, described it like the moment when Iron Man plugged the mini arc reactor into his chest. He and the device became something else entirely. As I said, there were no shortage of world-class competitors, but they were working in isolation. And as I think about those polar explorers who raced to the South Pole and inspired me to do the same a century later, it's very clear that despite the personalities of Shackleton, Scott, and Amundsen, there are no hero stories. It's always a story of collaboration. And as I reflect on our work to cure paralysis in our lifetime, it's very clear that no individual scientist, technologist, investor, philanthropist, government, or foundation is going to fix that problem on their own. We need world-class competitors, but where we make the really big throughs is when we find a way to galvanize those people around a common goal. When we find a way to collaborate, that's where the big breakthroughs happen. Thank you.